You probably would not have heard this before. Listen to this message for the rejuvenation of your spirit.
In that family. If you are going to get married in your family, it's not you that they will bring the lady to come on. There's somebody older than Evangelist Peter in his own family that will be the one that they will go to consult in order to get married to even your own younger sister. You see, the entire physical family structure is based on the principle of headship. The principle of headship can be a very terrific power when it is wielded in unrighteousness. And you need to know how to deal with it. Because if you don't know how to deal with it, the consequences of the headship in your own family being wielded in an unrighteous fashion can ensnare your destiny. Because God recognizes the principle of headship. I came with a list of things that Satan normally exploits in order to bring injury to the destinies of men. The first one is called headship. I've been a pastor for long. So I've had to pastor women that their husbands are unbelievers. Are you with me? Can you understand my position? I've had to pastor women that their husbands are unbelievers. Their husbands attend gatherings where they do ancestral venerations and pour libation to spirits. And this woman is trying to be a wife, and she doesn't believe in the priesthood that the husband is bringing, but the husband is the one that wields the scepter of headship. Oh, you're not with me. There's a very complex situation there that I want us to deal with. And most of us in this place, the one that sits in the capacity of head of your clan, head of your family, is likely to be an unbeliever. And just in case yours is a believer, God has helped you. The scepter of headship can be wielded in a most notorious way to bring injury to the destinies of men. Part of the reasons why this service is existing today is so that we can undo the entanglements that are befalling the destinies of men and women on the account of the scepter of headship that was wielded with a demonic force against your destiny. We went for a camp meeting and a senior minister was preaching the gospel, and he said they were born into a diabolical family. The god that the father worshipped was one of the deities of the river. So when a child is born, they take the child before the deity, and the priest will offer sacrifices, and the spirit will come and bear witness. I said, okay, this one is going to stay by the altar. So when his elder brother was born, they took him to, I hope you know the authority that the father is using to do that is the authority called headship. So he brought this guy. There's the elder brother of this preacher was brought to the oracle. When they brought him to the oracle, the spirit came and possessed the priest, and the priest said, this one will stay before the altar. So they separated him. He didn't go to primary school, didn't go to secondary school, didn't go to the university. He was separated straight to the altar. Began to learn the language of incantation, began to learn the language of divination, and started developing spiritual knowledge around that water deity. When they gave birth to him, they brought him to the shrine. Then the spirit possessed the priest, and the priest said, no, this one, allow this one to do anything that he feels like doing. That was why they allowed him. He went to primary school, went to secondary school. Somewhere along the line in secondary school, he gave his life to Christ. And the reason why the father did not fight him was because the oracle said, allow him do whatever he wants. He became a mighty preacher, but he knew that the headship that was in his family was against the kind of dedication that he had to God. Are you there? Are you with me? Now, so this has produced tomorrow's message. Tomorrow's message is one who I say I was led. to do this teaching. Are you there? There's, whether you like it or not, as modern as we try to make ourselves, there is something called the altar of your father's house. And I'm not saying this by terminology. I will show you from the Bible, and I will show you what that altar did to people. So this preacher, he had raised an altar for the Lord, but yes, there was an altar of darkness that was in his family. It is possible for you to gain some mileage when there is this darkness in your family, because the darkness feeds from the principle of headship. At some point you will need to do damage to this system. If not, this system has the ability to limit you from becoming everything that God wants you to be. And I'm going to show you how God dealt with men that were raised in families that had those altars, and the altars were managed by people that had the right of headship. There were strategic informations that God made available to them, and strategic directions and directives that they received in combating such a situation. Because the thing about the matter here is that the headship is legitimate. Headship is not from the devil. Headship was instituted by God. Just like marriage is not from the devil. Marriage was instituted by God. It's God's idea, not man's idea. So God himself recognizes headship. But headship can be wielded in a fashion that it becomes an object of injury. How do you survive in such cases? This is the reason why I say my time is up. I was only able to introduce my burden. This is the first burden. I have some matters. Apart from headship, I have some other matters that I want us to investigate. And the reason for the investigation is to find out what is behind your limitation. What is behind your struggle? What is behind the weeping that you weep sometimes? There can be a complex maze of demonic activity that finds its premise of legality in some of those installations that are valid before God. Are you there? The man said, I am a man set under authority. And that is the reason why I can say unto this one, go! And he goeth. So my own personal authority becomes valid because I am set under authority. So if we have someone, one thing you need to know about the deities of darkness and wickedness is that they are exceptionally possessive. If somebody brings an idol into the family, the idol is not just satisfied with the person that brought it or him into the family. The idol wants to dominate. He wants to become the ruling principle behind the civilization of the people. The idol wants to determine who rises, who falls, who dies, who is afflicted. The idol wants to be the one that determines what happens. And I'm just saying this just in case we have preachers that are hoping to press forward and there is an image of jealousy that is in your context. You might find yourself advancing and you get to a level and you may not be able to advance beyond that point. It's just like the children of Israel moving around in circles until God had to say, you've been moving around this mountain for too long. Whenever you see those symptoms of being on one spot for a long time and not advancing into the possibilities of glory that are associated with your destiny and your rising, we need to take our telescope, we need to take on new eyes and new lenses and to check the reason for the resistance. Because the Bible is very clear as to what God does to people that are in alignment with him. I've seen some mighty preachers. Like when we were in the university, there was this guy. He was not ashamed of Jesus. He comes everywhere preaching the gospel, So he challenged us. We became crazy like him. And all of us were preaching the gospel. That guy backslid before we graduated. When you see some acute backsliding scenarios, you need to conduct an experiment and find out what is behind this drastic change. For some others, they have not backslidden, but they lost their ministry. What God intended them to be is not what they are. We came to contend for the fullness of God in our lives. Are you here? We came to contend. So I'm going to